Hello everyone, I'm Scott. You're watching Your Experience Guide. There's a lot of talk about Alton Towers cutting their opening hours at the minute, so I thought I'd get involved in this conversation, take a look what's going on, and also while I'm at it, have a little chat about Scarefest, which is coming up in October 2024. The recent cutting of opening hours at Alton Towers began a couple of weeks ago when some of the 6 p.m. closes were chopped down to 5 p.m. Now 5 p.m. close at Alton Towers in the summer, that just feels way too early. But from an operational point of view, if Alton Towers are looking at their forecasted numbers and they're looking at it going, well, we're no busier this week than we were in, say, May when it was a 5 o'clock close, then I can kind of see why that they would chop an hour down. But on the flip side, when it's busy, they need to be doing the same thing and going, well, it's a 6 o'clock close today, but there's more people here than we expected. Lots of people are spending, so we're going to put it up to 6:30, 7 o'clock. But it only seems to be going one way, whereas they're quite happy to take an hour off the opening time, but when it's busy, there isn't an hour being added on to the opening time. And I think that's why the Alton Towers fan base particularly are getting angry about these cuts online, because we're seeing it one way, but we're not seeing an increase the other way when it's busy. So I do get the frustration there, but at the same time, from a business point of view, I understand why they will cut an hour off if it's quiet. We as Blackpool Pleasure Beach fans have had this situation in recent years where a date will be advertised as an 8 p.m. close, it will then be cut down to 7 p.m, and then it'll go down to 6 p.m. We've seen a lot of that over the last couple of years. We might well moan about it online, but when you go to the park on that day, and everything's walk-on or has only got a 20-25 minute queue, you can kind of see where the decision has been made. But again, on the flip side, if you've got short opening hours, people are not going to prioritise visiting on those days, so it is going to be quieter. So I do feel like the summer situation is a bit of a catch-22, because if, for example, at the start of the year, they put it out there that, right, throughout July and August, we are open till 7 p.m. minimum, every single day, everyone's like, brilliant. But then when it comes to it, if it's raining or there's a reason for people not to go to theme parks, there's another crisis financially, or there's just other stuff going on in the world, then them 7 p.m. closes might all end up being really quiet and the park may end up losing money. So what I would like to see in future, starting from next season onwards, is our parks in the UK, especially the big players, I'm talking Alton Towers, Blackpool, Thorpe Park, even places like Poultons and Drayton Manor, I'd love to see them take the Europa Park approach where they say, we will close at the earliest at 5 o'clock, let's say. But if it's busier than expected, we will increase it to either 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, whatever the limit is. But we will make a decision on the day depending on how busy the park is. So the minimum closing time is 5 or 6 o'clock, but we may well open till 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the park can do. Now, of course, the issue with doing it this way is going to be the staff, because obviously the staff are going to want to know what time they're finishing. But I'm sure that something could be put in place where the staff know that this is a possibility on certain days. They may have to work a little bit longer. Now, I know it's not an ideal situation. I have worked on rides myself. I have been there. I have turned up in the morning thinking that we're on a 5 o'clock close. I'm going to be getting home by 6 o'clock. And then you get there, you've got your morning briefing, and your supervisor comes in and says, oh, by the way, park office or whoever have extended the opening hours. We're now closing at 7 o'clock. And don't get me wrong, your heart sinks a little bit because you think, oh no, I'm going to be here for at least 3 hours longer than I expected now. But at the same time, if that's in your contract, which it was mine, you know that this is a possibility. You know that this may well happen on a busier day. Now, I know there is no ideal situation here because it's difficult for the parks, it's difficult for the staff, it's annoying for the customers. So it really is a difficult situation in terms of where do they go with planning their opening hours. How far in advance can you plan your opening hours? Another example here is Blackpool Pleasure Beach put on their 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock close events, but they put the dates out in like December, January, long before they're happening. They've no idea what the weather's going to be like. They've no idea what's going to be going on in the rest of the world, the rest of the country. So it's like, how do you know when in advance to put a late night close or an early close, or to have it as a consideration that, oh, we won't have a 5 o'clock, we'll have a 6 o'clock. It must be an absolute nightmare for planning these things out, which is why I think it will be better to have an estimated earliest closing time, such as 5 o'clock, and then if it's busy, it will get extended. Moving on to Scarefest, and this is the thing that I wanted to talk about the most, because there's been a lot of frustration over the midweek dates, or selected midweek dates at Towers, being cut from 9 PM to 8 PM. I don't have an issue with that. The reason being is these are off-peak days in the middle of the week. These dates last year or the years before were 5 o'clock closes, or in some cases 4 o'clock closes, with absolutely no Scarefest. Whereas this time there's 24 days of Scarefest at Alton Towers, and sometimes you're going to be able to visit on an off-peak Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, for example, when the park is going to be a ghost town. You're going to be able to lap all your favourite rides. You're probably going to be able to enjoy the scare zones without a lot of other people in them. You're not going to wait a long time for the scare mazes, and it's going to be a lot quieter than it would be on a Saturday or a Sunday, but it's only 1 hour less of opening time than there would be on one of those days. So you're going to get so much longer and so much more freedom to experience Scarefest on those quieter days than you would at the weekend. And because Scarefest is on for longer, it means that you can pick and choose which days to go, especially as an annual pass holder, a little bit more freely than we would have been able to in years gone by. I remember a couple of years ago going to Alton Towers midweek in October, and it was on one of the same dates that it is an 8 PM close this year. I went there and it was a 4 PM close. Everything was walk on. And I was like, oh, wanted to do Scarefest, but I can't because it's a 4 o'clock close and none of it's open. Whereas if I go on that same day this year, all the Scarefest stuff is on. The park's open till 8 PM. And I might even get a night ride on Nemesis, which is a lot better than it was 2 or 3 years ago. It's not all good though. There is something that is really bugging me about Scarefest. And that is the fact that the Attic and Altonville Mine Tours are back again. Do we really want to see these mazes back every year for the last, 5, 6, 7 years? They're not that great. And I don't believe that they are like fan favourites. I don't get it. I don't get why at least one of them has not been changed. Now, of course, Towers are teasing that there is going to be 2 brand new attractions. That's great. But is it enough? Is it still going to be a case of Stalefest, or are these 2 new attractions going to elevate the event and get it up there as good as Fright Nights at Thorpe Park? Because in my opinion, Fright Nights at Thorpe Park is levels above Scarefest at Alton Towers at the minute. The last time I would go as far as saying Scarefest was better was back in 2018 when Thorpe had things like Vulcan Peak. But since then, in my opinion, Thorpe Park Fright Nights has been significantly better than the Alton Towers Scarefest offering. Now, I get, of course, that Alton Towers Scarefest is a family-friendly event, but if the park's going to be open till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, well, our family's going to stay that long? Is there not something that we can have at Scarefest that is going to appeal to the people that are staying that long? Of course, we've got night rides on the coasters, but October is for Halloween and for scares, and it's all about the scare mazes and the scare zones. And because of that, I feel like Alton Towers needs something that really does appeal to those who want to be scared in a scare maze and are not just going through because of the set pieces, because of the theming, because of a few Halloween spooky vibes, because they actually want to be scared, like they would have been in Subspecies or the Sanctuary or other classic Alton Towers Scarefest mazes that really were at an elite level as far as scares and immersion go. As underwhelmed as I might be about the Attic and Altonville Mine Tours returning, I am very much looking forward to these 2 new attractions that Alton Towers will soon be marketing for Scarefest. I'm interested to see what they do, where they put them, and what theme they've got. I've really been hoping to see some more scare zones as well, because Burial Grounds is coming back. That was incredible. That is exactly, in my opinion, what Alton Towers needed to bring to Scarefest. And in my opinion, they need to build on that. As well as having the scare mazes, they need to have a couple more scare zones dotted around the park. Maybe something near Alton Manor, maybe something near Nemesis, just to fit in with those new themes that they've got in the park, something that they've done really well with roaming characters. Expand on those with scare zones, and I think that that would elevate the event to a much higher place than it's been in the last 5 or 6 years. So with all that said, that brings this mixed bag of positivity and complaining to an end. I am very much looking forward to Scarefest at Alton Towers. I always do, but I really do hope to see some improvements on the event from last year. Also, once again, I'm not bothered about the 8 PM closes midweek. I actually think I might go and visit for one of those and take advantage of the park being much quieter than it will on the Sunday that I'm planning to visit anyway. However, that's enough from me on this subject. So what do you think? Are the cuts at Alton Towers ridiculous, a bad thing, or are you not really bothered? Or can you see why they've done it? And what do you think Scarefest is going to be like this year? Is it going to be more of the same, or is the event going to be better? Please let me know in the comment section below. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.